Hey y'all, it's Renegayde. It's time to spill more Reali-Tea on all things RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 10. We're in the midst of the Tournament of All-Stars, so make sure you like and subscribe for more, as you're not going to want to miss a single drop of content this season. On this podcast, it's time for a Hoedown Throwdown, as our purple bracket queens split into country-themed girl groups at the first annual Stagecooch Festival. But I'm not too sure I want a ticket to this show anymore, honestly. But before we begin, I can't do this without my co-host, and you better let him suck the chrome off your trailer hitch, or he'll key your garbage. It's QuackrrJack. Jack, I gotta ask you, since all of us viewers, we had concerns about this bracket last week, right? Less due to the queens and more so by production. Are you still feeling concerned after this week's episode? Because I know I'm feeling some type of way.
My concern is not with production or anything like that. My concern is trying to decide, do I agree with the top three that is moving through? I'm going to be sad about one of the girls not making it through, but I think two of the queens were bound to be cut no matter what. So I'm not really that gagged. It's a produced TV show. We've talked about this before. Am I concerned? No. I'm more concerned that a lot of people online seem to have incorrect opinions on things, which, yeah, I know I said incorrect opinion, but like it can be. We can get into it.
We will get into it because I know we have a difference of opinion once again this week, which is kind of shocking. I feel like it's the purple bracket. Something about this bracket is just making us hate each other and just disagree completely over the last few weeks. But I also think maybe you could just be sipping on some Kool-Aid. Maybe you're out of like some medication you haven't taken in a few weeks, Jack. I don't know. Well, but we'll talk about it. We'll get into it. Let's just go ahead and we could just jump into it from the start here. Because honestly, there's so many people like all over social media and even our audience too. 88% of them as of today voted that they did not agree with the outcome of this episode. So I think that's kind of saying something, when you have your own queens from your own season being like, what the hell just happened? Like I'm we kind of let's go from the start and we can kind of get into it because things were kind of working their way up. I feel like to some degree for me in this episode, I was like, okay, maybe this bracket isn't so bad. We did kind of start out with a very predictable point ceremony though, which it's to be expected because really, it's just the kumbaya at this point where everybody's just going to give their points to each other. So
there's no way to not do this without having a repeat of like bracket 2, right? Like you're either going to cause complete chaos or you're going to try to keep things fair.
Right. Well, the issue is too that kind of I'd say the thing that plays into it as well too is the fact that they were just in teams. So it's like, of course, you're more than likely to give your partner a point when you just worked with somebody,
Well, honestly, that's why a lot of people are mad about this whole bracket anyways to begin with. Like, people are upset last week. They didn't get what they wanted this week, so that just, like, triggered them further. And I mean, last week was just like if we're in pairs, then, like, we're doing that whole judging by pairs instead of as individuals thing, which is weird when there are 6 people left because you can judge everyone individually. But whatever.
Yeah, like so there's a lot of unnecessary things that are happening, and I don't think production's doing themselves any favors at all with helping certain queens out in certain situations. I shouldn't say helping them out, but maybe giving them something much more in their wheelhouse than other queens, which is the definition, I think, of just what we were fearing of this bracket. So, regardless, someone still has to perform. We get that, but it's just when it comes much more naturally to something than somebody that it does to somebody else, as we kind of see in this episode. It definitely kind of feels that the writing's already on their wall in certain situations. A few other weeks, there's a little question maybe here and there. There's been really no question at all, and it's just kind of based off of how everything's produced and edited to this point. Acid did try to give us a little bit of drama with how she was giving out the point, but it was pretty obvious she was still not going to give her point to Cucu, but give it to Denali. But I will say though, they are still highlighting this Cucu and Acid relationship, and they did make a deal at one point. They're like, okay, next week I got you, and they kind of had another conversation later on in this episode that I kind of want to highlight here, because they kind of bring Alyssa in on the plot for this whole idea to, pool points and make sure that one of the three of them get through. What do you really think Acid's strategy is here? Do you think she's trying to benefit herself, or do you think she's just trying to get somebody maybe unexpected to get to the end? Because I'm a little confused what her ultimate goal is.
I think Acid has always just been someone who, is very against the flow. She doesn't just like to go with things. She wants to make her mark, make her impact. And whether that means that she's the one getting through or someone else, I think she can see the writing on the wall as most of us could or should have been able to before this bracket started. It was very clear what they were doing with this bracket. It was very clear that, Alyssa and Cynthia were just like being sacrificed to the wolves for slaughter kind of thing, right? Like that was an immediate gonna happen. Acid most likely being like the third sacrifice. So I think Acid recognized what was going on and said, okay, so like we need to get it together, girls. Like we can't just be having, favoritism happening the whole time. And, we have power, let's use it instead of just like doing kumbaya the whole time. Sure, kumbaya is great at first, but the second week, that's when things can get a little messy and it not be as big of a deal because that last week, unbeknownst to the queens at this point, is gonna be everyone at the same time. Like no one can really switch their opinion, right? So
Hmm.
if you're gonna pull a stunt, you know what? Week 2 is a great time to do it. And I think Acid is aware that after seeing how things have panned out, if this happens again, why not be the one who decides in your group who should go on?
Right. I was thinking and kind of taking my way back to like when I used to play like online reality games and stuff like that. And sometimes when you're on like a jury, just having the ability to vote, knowing that you get to pick who the winner is, that is empowering to some degree. It's like, okay, I don't get to win, obviously, but I get a hand in saying who possibly does. And if she's trying to do something that's a little maybe outside of what production wants, I'm kind of here for it. I'm a little worried it might screw over Denali if Denali's not in on the plan, because now Denali has points. Flash forward to the end of the episode. So I'm a little worried who this plan might hinder, honestly. But if Acid wants to do something crazy, I'm not here for it. We need something happening in this group, honestly. Um, did you want to talk about the Clueless Mini-Challenge at all? Because I don't think any of the girls really knew the
No,
references as much as Rue wanted to, and yeah, I'm
Acid Betty
just
was like the only person that knew everything, and everyone else was like, "Yes, I love this." I mean, it wasn't as bad as like Nicole Page Brooks being like, "Yes, I love Chappelle Rowan. Okay, like it wasn't that bad, but Acid was like, "I can quote the whole thing, bitch. This is my gig," and I was like, "Yeah, Acid was here for this. She knew everything, and she was a fan." I was like, "All right, bitch loves it." And then we got girls over here being like. It reminded me of season 13, I think, actually. I was rooting for us. Like, that's how they
oh,
were delivering the quotes. I was
oh,
like, oh my God. Like, okay, let's just next.
yeah, it was rough. You could tell Rue was getting frustrated. um, I'm not sure. I mean, Denali did fine, I guess. I don't know if they were judging it based off the photos. Do they actually judge any of these off the photos? Do they just
Girl, I
decide?
don't know,
I,
because
I don't know if they ever
if
have.
you were judging based off of the photos or like what was delivered, I felt like Daya did the best when she like went with it and like she straight up. This is what star quality is to me in this moment was like the lipstick broke. She started chewing on it and started smearing it around her mouth, and it was after a quote about her mouth, and so I was like, she rolled with the punches. She did what she should have and got messy. And I was like, okay, cool. And then they're like, Denali, you're the winner. And I was like, okay.
I mean, I was fine because it was Denali, but I was also kind of like, "But did
I mean,
did
at the end of the
Denali
day,
do?
it's a
It wasn't
thousand
bad,
dollars.
but yeah."
It's a nice tip, but at the same time, they don't get any power. They're not getting any like claim to any kind of like choosing of anything for the actual challenge. So it was just like a cute filler thing, which honestly, clearly they needed because girl, they got nothing in this group. So fast.
The fact that we're talking about it right now, I think proves that there's really nothing to talk about. So
Exactly.
I'm literally like, oh,
Fast
okay,
forward the
well,
songs,
I
baby.
guess we're already here. Okay, all right. Well, for this week, for their maxi challenge, they had to split into again country girl groups and perform at Stagecooch. And now that we know that Ginger has a country album, the convenience continues, and it's just like, ugh. But I will say I was surprised all the queens were fighting over Trailer Hitch because I actually ended up liking Kier Carr better, to be honest. Like it was giving me much
Agreed.
more Carrie
Agreed.
Underwood, um, until he cheat vibes. I think that's one of like my favorite. Or before
Well,
he
don't say
cheats.
that bitch's name.
I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible. It hasn't aged well, but
No, I
it
just
still
meant
doesn't change the
I
fact that
meant
it's a good song. Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
I just meant her.
We'll just edit her out. Yeah. Okay. It was giving me, before he cheats vibes, and we love her. And as far as everything goes here, I was a little surprised that everybody, like to the point that Alyssa was crying to get the song. I was just like, really? Like, was this song that I didn't think it was that good. I thought the other one
You
was
know
way
what?
better.
You know what though? If this is what you want, go for it. Like it's not for us, I guess, to like know what the girls are feeling because I'm gonna tell you half the time that the girls are feeling incorrectly. So like, but I can't really say that because they're valid feelings or whatever. But like, I was like, you know what, take the song. And then we had the two people who won last week. We're both like, all right, I'll do the other song with Cynthia. And I was like, is this a rig? Is this like, are we rigging this? Did the song get worse? Like, or was it just a moment where we were like, we already have points, let's be congenial? Or was it like, you know what, Cynthia's in that group, we'll do better than her and we'll look better? I don't know.
It
Could
was
have
a
been any of
mixture of
them.
things, probably. Honestly, I mean, I
Yeah, I
think
will.
Ginger probably out of everybody probably vibed with the song too. I think it was probably just like
Yeah.
she's like, okay, whatever. And I think once Daya realized that Ginger was in on it, she's probably like, okay, that's fine, I'll do it. Could be worse.
I think one thing that was important only in here is that Alyssa getting what she wanted was really important to her because of the whole English language barrier kind of thing. And I think that's very fair because I do believe that she was ending up in the bottom on the challenge to send her home, which I still disagree with, because of a language barrier kind of thing. So I think that was very important. I think it was very correct of the girls to at least allow the girl who like clearly wanted it the most to at least have their way, regardless of how well they're going to do or not. Like,
If I could make an argument, I think she would have done better with the slower song. It would have been a lot slower. It would have been. She would have probably had an easier time writing lyrics to it because she wouldn't have had like you could stretch things out a little bit more. You could have talked at a slower pace and really just enunciated, but I also don't think that the theme was really
not
ever going to be in
enunciated,
Alyssa's her. There's a lot of what we'll get into it later, but I mean, like,
but you were
well,
like enunciated and it's enunciated. Like,
don't eat whatever, eat it. I don't care.
but I agree with you. The point is that like the girl was like, I want this more than I want to breathe air right now. And I was like, all right, girl, just have the song. Then like even if it won't help you, like I'll let you have it because
Right.
and to be fair, both these songs sucked. Like neither of the songs were like, yeah, let me put that in my thing. And I know part of it is because like I'm not a country girl or everything like that. But I was just like, these songs are trash, mama. I thought we were going back to All Star 6 again because Ginger was here, and I was like, oh, I remember how bad that song was. So I was like, oh my
No,
god, I
this
guess we're
these
really
two were
gonna
better
do
than
it.
that one. The Kia car one wasn't
Well,
bad. It was okay. Like
I mean, that
it
one was
was
the better of the two, but
okay.
like to be as bad as the All Star 6 song, you would have to like say hold my beer and then buy beers for everyone in the bar, tell them to hold the beers and like then, put it through some like water, make sure it's all muffled, get some bubbles in there so you can't actually hear the lyrics, and then maybe compare to how bad the other song was.
So what you're saying is there's no way to do that, not in this economy, because we don't make enough money to get everybody beers.
Exactly.
um, well, let me see here. Yeah, I think that's everything I basically have at this point. Is there anything you want to talk here before we get to the main stage?
No, girl, get me to that main stage.
Yeah, let's just run ahead here. Let's just go ahead and get to your favorite
Run
portion
it
of the
back.
podcast
Run
here,
it
Jack.
back.
And that's the runway, which means it's time for this week's Yes or Mess. Category is Night of 1,000 Mileys. And honestly, a little underwhelmed by this category because I don't really consider her a fashion girl. Honestly, there's a lot of these looks that popped out here. I was like, oh yeah, she did wear that, but I was just like, there's nothing really in my head that I was like instantly like, oh, I hope I see this. Like
There was one look.
And Denali brought it, right?
Yes, it does. Because let me tell you, Miley's most iconic look is when she looks like that raw chicken ass trying to shove her ass in the 2013 VMAs. That is what everyone knows Miley for, right? Like that is her. I mean, people know her as Hannah Montana, blah blah blah. But like that was the moment that I was like, Miley just did something that was so defining. It wasn't in a good way, but it was still very defining. And I will never not think of that when I see that like fake nude illusion raw chicken looking suit. And I was so excited to see that. I wanted it so bad and I got it.
Imagine if
But
it was like, what was it? Kimono Gate, and everybody came out with the chicken ass.
you know what?
I kind of would have been here for it.
I would have understood at least because the kimono gate was so crazy because it was like Madonna, you're doing kimono for Madonna. Just say you wanted to wear kimono, girl. Like I don't know. I don't know. For me, I was like Madonna has like a million looks. Not that I'm like huge into like Madonna's fashion, but I know for a fact that Madonna has like decades of looks, so you can go for anything. But anyways, I think Night of 1,000 Mileys was I was very whelmed. I like that a couple of the girls chose to do something in like one of her outfits and then in drag or were forced to do it because they're not the same size as her. Um and
Who?
I was like, okay, I don't mind someone doing like a drag interpretation of one of the looks. Like I think we had some pretty good looks and I think we had some very meh looks. And I think we had some very okay, that sucks look.
Well, Jack, go ahead and get into your stand-ups for the weekend. Who stood out for all the wrong reasons?
Well, I think everyone can agree, and I know people are going to not agree with me, but we should agree that Cynthia Lee Fontaine's big ass panty not fitting in the crotch or the arms, baby. I was like, this is a mess. She had that hair on that looked like a worse version of the wig from season 17 that Lana Jarre was wearing, and her like kind of pretty girl outfit. Like this was very Harajuku inspired as well with the wig and stuff, but it wasn't giving, and I didn't like this. I know that she took it because she's like, "Oh, Miley's an ally," blah blah blah. If the look ain't good, looking good. But what makes this worse is that Cynthia doesn't have an eye for details, so she's like, "That's kind of like it, so it's fine." And it's like that's not how these things work when you're doing these like look recreations. Like you have to get details correct or whatnot. It can't just be like, "Oh, that's the same color." Like it was so awkwardly fitting on her body. She didn't look good. The best part was they were like, "Hey, we wanted to see your ass." And I was like, "Yeah, same too cuz I didn't want to see the front side of this."
Who?
So, I mean, like I was like, "Cool." Alyssa Hunter kind of falling in the middle, kind of bad for me because it was just such a basic outfit. I really wasn't feeling it. I don't think it's Alyssa's fault. I think she just chose a bad outfit. So I say it's kind of her fault, but maybe she had one of those scenarios where like you have to get the look approved first, and her original wasn't. But I just I didn't vibe with that. I was like, I feel like you're way fiercer than us, Alyssa, and I feel like this is just bringing you to Basic Town. But someone who did the exact same look, just like they did, but did it right, was Diabetti. Diabetti was looking good in this dress. It was so sophisticated. She did her hair similar to Miley's, but more drag aesthetic, right? It wasn't just like hair. It was like, okay, let's make this more frosted tips and let's make sure my lengthy ass body is being shown. Like everyone's gonna know I'm that tall. I'm gonna look amazing. And the body's right. So it looked great. We already talked about Denali was perfect and everything she did in this look. It was so fun. It was like very campy, which is what this outfit was. Definitely top of the week for me. And
Agreed.
then I think we have Acid, where we're looking at like this she did the look, but then she made it drag, and I really appreciate that. There's a few things I would maybe change here or there, but I like to see a girl infuse her style in this, and I thought it was so funny that she said, I believe the word was like regal or something for her, and I was like, that's so funny because like when you think of when you think of like regal or glam or whatever, like if this is what Acid Betty thinks it is, like that's fair because you've seen Acid Betty before, and like she does nothing like that. She does way more individualized drag, and I love it. And then finally, I have to give a shout out actually to Ginger, who I think was at the most disadvantage of this. Not trying to like give her any points, but like as a big bitch, like you can't just wear a copied look, which is why she couldn't just throw on the original look. So for her to do like this like jumpsuit body thing underneath it and like having the belt and these cutouts with the circles, I was like, this is kind of smart. Like she did it without having to glue rhinestones everywhere. Like yes, there is shine, there are some rhinestones, there's some metal pieces on there. I thought it was interesting to do an interpretation like Acid did, and I really enjoyed her and Acid really doing these like different takes on the looks. Whereas like when we had girls like Daya and Denali who really nailed the looks but made them drag, it was everything. But again, not like it wasn't like I was like, oh my god, Acid and Ginger next Vogue cover. It was like they're good. Daya and
Yeah.
Denali were my real standouts though.
hmm I think I appreciated the recreations, I think, slightly more than the original takes, just because some of the original takes were a little off for me. Like, there was something a little bit off about acids. I don't really know what it would be. I can't really change much
Is
when
it the
someone's
breast
like,
torso area?
a little bit, it looks a little weird. I don't really, like, I don't really mind it so much, but there's just something a little off about it. And also, when you said earlier, you said regal. Yeah, like Miley is not regal, so like,
Right, right.
um, but I definitely could see why acid would probably change it up a little bit, though. But like, I'm not mad at it, but I'm not as I guess blown away with that particular look as everybody else is. Same with Cynthia too. I think a lot of people are really into Cynthia's look. I'm not really a big fan of it. I don't mind it. I like that it's a tribute. Like I said, if you're doing like a recreation of it, you're right. It needs to be a lot more detailed to the actual outfit, and I don't think Cynthia's was giving me that 100%. And I didn't really like Alyssa's. I'm sorry.
Well,
It
I mean,
was.
Alyssa's was way too basic, and Cynthia's was ugly. So, like,
Yeah,
Alyssa, if she wanted to do something like straight up to it, she should have done. I think you talked about this, the flowers look. I think that would have worked well on her because it would have given like a fashion look instead of just a I'm a skinny girl and whatever I want to wear look.
she looks like a rugrat. It's just something like
Ooh.
Cynthia. Like it's just like I don't know. It's like and not in a good way. Not in a good
I
way.
thought you were gonna say it looks very Cynthia, and I was like, that's so correct and so true.
I mean, basically, but like without like Cynthia's like good hair. This is like one of the like
Uh,
the off-brand Cynthia dolls that maybe you could buy in the Rugrats universe. I don't
I
know.
mean,
It wasn't one of my favorite looks. Um,
it was very
but I can
missed.
appreciate it. I can appreciate it. Just
It
like
was a well
Ginger's,
made.
I didn't hate Ginger's either. I appreciate Ginger taking a risk. I don't think this is something you would see from her. I do think she's getting a lot of unnecessary hate based off of the judging. So I'm trying to keep my own biases in that respect, in check because it's not her fault that people are giving her, praise for how she's performing. Um, but I also want to be honest at the same time, though, too. But I don't think Ginger's ever going to bring out a look that isn't what's the word I'm looking for? Because it's not necessarily like well conceived, necessarily. I don't even well made,
Stunning.
maybe.
Is
Like
it
like
stunning? Is the word stunning? You
yeah,
don't want
definitely
you
not
have
stunning.
confused
I don't know.
stunning.
Like you could tell she invests effort into her looks, if that's what I guess the word that I'm going for is. Like
Yeah,
you could tell she's trying to do something different than what she usually does. Other than that business suit she walked in, that was some garbage. But
I don't think that suit was that bad. I just think it was kind of basic, but
Garbage, mama, garbage.
no, it fit her well at least, and I can't say that about all the other girls. So
Yeah, I mean, true, but yeah, well, that's basically what it is. It'll be something that is that's kind of what I would kind of mean. Like there's always like the upside is that like it's professional, I guess, if that's the word. I don't think that's the word I'm looking for. I don't know, but there's clearly effort put into what Ginger's trying to do. So, while it may not be like my cup of tea 100%, I do appreciate her take on what was going on here. But there are obvious, issues with it, fit issues, and the weirdness with the holes is a little weird. But um, I hate saying for Ginger it's good, but for Ginger it's good.
I think it's better than other girls' looks up there, which is already enough, right, at this point. But
Right.
also, I don't think it's a bad look. I just think
It's not.
it reminds me of her Elvis look, but like made a little
Right.
bit cleaner.
I'd say, yeah, maybe that's
So,
what it was giving more like Elvis than Miley.
but I
But
mean, it's her brand, I guess. So like, it's fine. She's not a Fashion Nova girl, kind of thing, right? Or I shouldn't say Fashion Nova. That sounds really bad. But she's not a fashion girl. Um, let's just get on with the
yeah,
challenge.
let's just move on because we'll get into the week's performances. Because I thought everybody did pretty well for what they were
Yeah,
given.
what they
I,
did was good.
I don't think there was really, that much of a difference between like the performances that were like A's and A minuses. There was like maybe small things I could kind of nitpick here and there between like, I mean,
I
obviously
mean,
Alyssa had weird vocals, so that was just kind of taking me out right away. Acid, I think she was funny, but I do think her playing like the character she chose was a little off-putting to some degree, and I don't know if I really got it. Um, Daya, I think, was really good as well, but I don't really remember anything specifically she did. And I think Nisha brought up a good point at Roscoe's when she said that the tone, kind of the fact that like it's the fact that she wasn't singing maybe in a higher pitch, like it felt not as energetic as it could be. So my top three personally were Ginger, Denali, and Cuckoo, which I was surprised to really like Cuckoo that much.
I mean, I think it was clear. I'm gonna say it. I think Denali and Ginger both were leagues above the rest of the people. Personally, like I don't even think it was close. And I think that has to do somewhat with their performance, but also with the fact that they were the two girls that didn't look like the background dancers. Like everyone else looked similar, right? Like in their groups. And then they were like, I guess the Beyonce who like stood out specifically on purpose, right? And maybe that was on purpose by them, or maybe it just happened to be that way. I don't know. But I think it was a smart decision by them because I think your focal point of just went to them a lot of the time, regardless, because you saw such similar kind of looks. I mean, I know Cynthia was kind of like dressed up or whatever, and her voice sounded nice, but I wasn't really feeling the performance as much. Like I was like, it's all right. Personally, this no shock to anyone. I thought Cynthia wasn't even like in the top three. I would have put her maybe fifth.
Well, you also
I
hate
w-
Cynthia, so it's
I
okay.
don't really like Cynthia. No, you're right, but like I also didn't find her to be very entertaining in the slightest. I was like, eh. I mean, I liked her. I think I liked the last note of her specifically, "Take the bulls by the horn" or whatever. I was like, oh, I like these lyrics, but there wasn't really a performance being put on much, and I just didn't find her character. With Daya, I was like, okay, so she has her character. There's not a lot of range here, unfortunately, but like it's good, it's solid. Alyssa, I was like, oh, Alyssa looks great. So that was where that ended for me mostly. And then I was like, Acid took a risk by doing a character to help her because she said, I'm not a singer and I'm not a country performer. And God knows I've never done that before. So let me give you something. And I was like, you know what? You really gave me like a mandatory meeting of the group, or like the oh, what's that queen from Down Under who was on Canada versus the World too? Anita Wiglet, who was like, she's gonna do well, she's gonna look a little crunchy, she's the crunchy girl in the group, but like you're gonna remember her. Like Heidi in
Just
Closet on her
called her
first season.
Anita Wiglet. Oh my
It was like that. It was giving very much
god.
like that. It was the girl who's a little crunchy, but she did well. And I was like, sure. So I was like, Diane and Acid were definitely my 3 and 4. But Denali and Ginger like outsold. I mean, it was clear Denali was number 1, right? And then Ginger was like, oh, I'm fully fledged. I know how to do this. I'm a country girl. Like, it was no surprise. And girls were going off about like the top 2 was wrong. Girl, this week's top 2 wasn't rigged in the slightest.
No, I would say at the end of the day, I mean, like Denali definitely did the best, and I mean, like this is what Ginger kind of does, on the regular. She is funny and she sings country. This
Yeah.
was it's kind of hard to really say that what Cynthia did was better than what Ginger did, kind of
Well, it
in
wasn't.
any way. Because yeah, I don't think it really was. I mean, you could kind of say for the unexpected factor, sure, we could give it to Cynthia, but I don't think the top two necessarily was incorrect. I think I probably would have
There was no
given
wiggle
Ginger
room for this
and
top two.
Denali the top two. Maybe it feels that way just because last week didn't feel correct. So,
Right, that's
a lot
fair.
of people I feel like maybe possibly could still have some lingering resentment about somebody being in the top that was maybe in the top last week, Ginger. But, I think this week it was deserved. But,
It was
you
clearly
know,
deserved this week.
well, that takes us to the moment that we've all been waiting for, y'all, and that's that lip sync that set the internet on fire, and not in a good way. Like I really think Twitter is probably going to just be just a flaming crater for the next few weeks until Purple Bracket is over officially. But Denali and Ginger lip sync to Miley Cyrus's See You Again, where once again, in my opinion, due to the magic of editing and production, Ginger is given the win because I personally can't possibly see any sort of reasoning why Denali lost this at all whatsoever. We spoke about this after the episode. Clearly, we have a very different opinion. But what are your thoughts now that you've had some time to sleep on it? Was it the right decision that Ginger won this? Or are you having second thoughts, joining the correct side that maybe Denali actually performed this song?
All right, so here it is. I have changed my opinion because I realized that not only did Ginger win the lip sync, she won the lip sync because it was a lip sync. And I think Denali did a great performance and I enjoyed her dancing. I do think there were a couple of weird parts, like her touching her booty hole kind of thing. I was like, that made me feel a little weird. And then after seeing her give us the ice performance of it, where she doesn't include some of those stunts or things she did in her lip sync, including the bending over and like looking into like touching her booty hole during a part that like the lyrics were on. I felt like, you know what, like Ginger knew all the lyrics and was very clear, and Denali, I didn't see a lot of commanding of the stage from her. It was like a okay lip sync from everyone. Denali did more of a performance in terms of dancing. Ginger did more of a lip sync. Do I think it was like amazing over the top? She deserves everything? No. And I think it was weird because girls were getting on there about like, you barely saw Denali at all in the lip sync, which wasn't true because one of the people even did a take and they found out that Denali was actually showed more often than Ginger. So honestly, if anything, the rigor was like not for to cover up Denali, but instead to not show any mistakes that Ginger would have had if there were any. So like I don't know, the argument wasn't correct by most people that I saw online. And then I think that again, this is like a lip sync kind of thing. This isn't like it wasn't the same. I mean, even we had the girls in the back saying like, oh yeah, Ginger was like commanding the attention. So I think it was a fair lip sync. I don't think there was anything wrong with the outcome. I think if anything, it shows the favoritism the fans might have towards Denali a bit because if we're gonna talk about girls not being shown in a lip sync, last week Betty had like 5 seconds. And this week Denali got featured enough to actually be shown in the lip sync, you know? So I was just like, that's weird that no one mentioned it about last week though. I'm just saying that. That's strange.
Yeah, that is strange. Everything you just said was all just very strange. Very strange, yeah. I don't know. Maybe we are watching different purple brackets, because I don't know. When I watched Denali ate Ginger up, Ginger just wouldn't even feel like she was performing like herself
I know
personally. It
skinny
felt
girls
like
crave
she
more.
was literally just standing around most of the time. She was really not, you could say she was commanding the stage, or don't know. She was literally walking to one side, standing there, look at the judges, walk to the other side, look at the judges. It's like, girl, like she was literally standing around for half of that lip sync. And the time she wasn't standing, she was copying some move that Denali was doing, which is like, okay, fun. But like, there was this, like even in comparison to Ginger's lip syncs, like this was not something I would say was even good for her at all whatsoever. So to say Denali was doing too much when Ginger is literally doing nothing, and you can clearly see what Denali is doing. And I think the issue with the lip sync as well too, if you really kind of watch, because I watched it a few times, there's a lot of strange cuts that whenever Denali is maybe getting ready to go into a verse or go into a trick, that it feels like it's like cutting her off kind of halfway, and they always go back to Ginger to like end a lot of the stanzas and the phrases and such like that. So it's just like it's very weird editing as far as I'm concerned. I don't believe that we got the entire story. In fact, I know we didn't get the entire story of what was happening here. I do think we got a lip sync that was probably very catered towards Ginger, and I do feel like this is the next coming of Hanaconda versus Marina Summers, or Monet Exchange versus Jinx Monsoon. Like this is just a travesty that will go down in
It's not
history.
that bad.
It's a
Neither of them.
travesty. It's
It's
bad.
not
It's
bad. It's
horrible.
not close to
This is
either
horrible.
of them.
This is
Here's
horrible.
here's something I want to say about the editing,
Horrible.
because I agree with
Horrible.
you that
Horrible.
the editing was better for Ginger, but I also think that one of the things that Ginger knows how to do is really like look at the camera and know like how to get herself seen. And I feel like Denali didn't fully do that, and I didn't see a lot of her face. And yes, that can be partially due to the editing. But I do think when I say, like, commanding the stage or anything, like, it's like I didn't get a connection with her a lot of the time. I didn't see her doing a lot of the lip syncing because her hair was flipped over or she had her head one way or the other. Like, I couldn't really see the lip syncing a lot of the time. And, like, I think that she did a good performance. It's just it's a lip sync. I need to see your lips, and I also need to I just feel like it wasn't, like I feel like this was more about her trying to give a over the top performance, like her first ever lip sync on the stage, and I didn't feel like it was about really delivering the song. Am I saying Ginger did a great job? No. Do I think Ginger did a good job? Do I think she won the lip sync? Yeah. But do I think either of them did an amazing job? No. Um, I think it was we went in with different ideas on how to do this lip sync. Neither of them necessarily did it right, but I think it just came down to it's Rue's decision. And honestly, okay, so here's the big thing. The lip sync doesn't even really fucking matter. At the end of the day, it really doesn't. I mean, it's 1 point.
Give
Maybe it's 2
Denali
points.
her 1 point. If she does not get through by 1 point, Jack, I'm saying it right now. It's your fault. And you
Asta's gonna
have to
get
live with
cut.
it.
So Denali's gonna make it through, so it's fine. Like it'll be Denali, Dia, and Ginger. Like I feel like that was what we all expected going in. I feel like we're so far both groups have given us all three people that we assumed were gonna go through at each group, basically. And now we're seeing it again. Like uh, it was like I have hope for Essa Betty, but I know she's not gonna like get through because they just don't want to see her. Did I ever have hope for Cynthia Lee? No. Did I want Alyssa to go on? Yeah, at 1 point, but after seeing like performances so far, I'm like, now Alyssa, I like you, but like clearly we're not that's not gonna happen. Like it's kinda over for like everyone that's not Dia Denali or Ginger. And I think we've all kind of like come to that realization for the most part. I don't think that Denali is going to get snubbed. I think if anything, we're just gonna see maybe Denali get snubbed in the second rounds of stuff instead of the I guess preliminaries, but I don't know. There's not much there. I think the whole fan base is going so crazy over this stupid lip sync that wasn't even that good. And the real issue should be here, like the hate that Ginger's receiving is just like so crazy because like it's not Ginger's fault. She didn't decide at this, like she was the winner of the lip sync. And it's just so showing of like how fat phobic and stuff the fucking community is. I'm just like, ugh, you guys are so annoying. Like I get it. You didn't want her to win the lip sync. And I get mad when a girl doesn't win a lip sync that I wanted to win too. But like the thing I don't do is go out of my way to like send girls hate and death threats and shit like that. Like that's crazy. Like
Yeah,
girls are
it's
going
kind of
crazy.
crazy how people are. I would say it's one thing when they're making comments and whatnot on Twitter about the reaction to the lip sync and whatnot. It's another thing when they're actually messaging Ginger and sending her death threats and being like, "Oh, you need to die because Denali didn't get the point." And it's just like, girl, that's a little too much. I think that what we realize is that the fan base, we do take things very seriously for whatever reason, but it's always been one of those things that kind of blows my mind because everybody today will be like, "Oh my God, Denali, justice for Denali," but it's like, how many times have they bought merchandise from Denali? Are you
Ooh,
subbed to Denali's
clock
channel?
it,
Are
clock
you
it,
following
clock,
her
clock,
actually
clock.
on Twitter? Are you actually going to her shows? Like, I have plenty of merch from all my favorite queens, and I need to go ahead and get frames and stuff put on my walls so I can actually do some camera streams here and there. But I'm just like, if you really care about these queens, you're gonna support them. You're not gonna just care about them for the moment and then actually, and then not do anything about it. Because I do feel like a lot of the people that are saying that are probably just keyboard warriors that just like to be angry
Ooh.
and cause a ruckus here and there. But like it's just like I said, if you really care about Denali, one, stop messaging Ginger because she's not the issue. Two, go actually message Denali and go figure out what her next show is and go ahead and go see her in person and go tell her that. One or three, um, message production and tell production how much they're messing with the show. Because as far as they don't care. Because if at the end of the day, what's gonna happen? We're gonna be mad, but we're gonna watch the next episode. We're still gonna watch the next episode after that. We're still gonna watch the finale. We're still gonna watch the next season after that. So it's like we're just gonna continually just make all these angry posts and things like that. And you know what happened? All Stars 9 when I was pissed about the winner? I went and I saw Roxy. That's what I did. So it's just like I think there's ways that we could actually use this negativity in more positive ways. And I do think there's probably more pressing things out there in the world going on today than, RuPaul's Drag Race. But, to each their own. I don't want to diminish anything for anybody here.
I
Jack,
mean, I'm here for the passion of the community, but like it needs to be redirected in a more positive way. Even
mhm.
if you want to take a negative thought, it does not have to be that crazy. Like a lip sync win or loss on a TV show that is mass produced just to like show queer representation, I guess, and also whatever RuPaul wants specifically, not what we want, other than the finale, in which case the clearly the fans are the deciding factor on social media. Um, you know, just uplift your queen and stop talking shit. Well, no, don't stop talking shit. Don't don't be like hating on the point where you're telling people to like do anything
I think we're
crazy. Like
okay to
don't.
read, but like the way when you take it so personally, like it's like what they're doing is not going to affect what happens to you tomorrow. You know, so it's like we need to stop maybe taking things so seriously. The fun memes and the reading the judges and whatnot for their stupid decisions, keep that up. But like, don't hate the queens because then no one's gonna want to come on the show. I don't get it. Um, actually, let me take that back here for a moment, Jack. I do get it because I'm very actually heated at this moment. And just like some real tea actually you want to spill here, because I want to talk to you about this because it's something that we heard I think on the internet, but I don't know if it was ever officially confirmed. Because there was some energy, I guess, at the end of this episode that was taking us back, to the pink bracket. If you remember, like Mistress very much so thought that she was going to win a design challenge, and then she didn't get to lip sync to Love Sensation. She just walked right off the stage at the end of the episode. Barely the same thing happened with Denali here. And if you do watch like kind of the episode, they did try to edit around it, but you could definitely see a few shots where like Diet and Ginger are hugging, and Denali just kind of walking straight for the back, and she's nowhere to be found with the rest of the other queens, whether they're dancing for the rest of the episode. So. Do you believe these rumors that Denali went crazy and RuPaul had to and production had to yell at her or whatever they're saying?
Girl, I don't know. I don't really care if they felt like they needed to yell at her or whatever. Like, if she's feeling in her feelings about losing the lip sync, that's valid. Let her walk off the stage. It's not like she's like calling people out and like telling RuPaul like he needs to shut up or something. Like it's nothing crazy. It's like I'm gonna walk away now because like I don't want to be here. And I think it's one of the most like mature things to do if you don't want to like do something or like regrets doing something and you're like, I'm just not gonna be here for this because I don't want to do something bad. Like I think that was like a smart idea. If she did do that, like go off, like do that. Like, you know what, if you don't feel like you can be there in that moment without wanting to say something or do something or look a certain way on camera, like walk away, go take a moment, just, you know,
Yeah, we
cool
don't need to
down.
be Ariete and just post the first thing on our mind. Unfortunately,
I
we
mean,
could we
I
could
love
take a
that shit.
moment and just
I'm here
breathe
for
and
it. Do that shit too.
hang
Please
on,
post it.
realize we could be professional for a
Please
little bit.
post it. Oh my god, post
At
it immediately.
least if you're
Post
gonna
it.
post it, at least let it be factual. That's all
Look,
I'm
I
gonna
still ain't
ask.
gonna. I ain't got nothing to say about that situation until I get the facts or facts or facts, America, and I
Well, you're
will
still gonna
be.
talk about it even without the facts.
I'm gonna be like, at the end of the day, again, if I don't got no facts, I can't be on anyone's side or nothing. I'm gonna be like,
Nah,
For me, like, I just want to know, like, if Denali's good, and I want to know,
mm-mm.
like, if they let her have her like moment or walk off. That's it. That's all. Like, if Denali felt she needed to get out of there, good on her for getting out of there and not like trying to be fake around the people when she was upset. Because bitch, I wouldn't want to be either.
I feel you. I would feel it completely. I feel like especially on the show, it'd be just so easy to, you know, have a moment, realize that like, and then now you're kind of stuck with that moment forever in
Yep.
history, which to some
Mm-hmm.
degree is kind of a little badass. Like I still say "Be quiet, Tiffany," and I can only imagine how Tiffany from America's Next Top Model feels when I bring up the Tyra fight all the time on the podcast. It's like one of my
Girl,
favorite
that's on
moments ever.
her.
But like,
Her
you know,
grandmother
take
got her
responsibility for
lights cut
yourself.
off, and then she quit the competition. If I was her grandmother, I would have never forgiven her.
I've been meaning to read those interviews and whatnot with Tiffany. I hope she's doing good though. Anyway, um, is there anything left that you want to say about the purple bag here before we close
Girl,
up
no,
today?
bye. Next week,
Yeah, I
let's
was about
go.
to say I don't really have too much to say here. I know you think it's a lock as far as who goes through. I feel honestly, I don't feel that way. I feel like there's something looming here. There's some more. The shenanigans that the judging have pulled here have just made me feel very nervous for the girls. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm just hoping for the best. I just feel like we're in danger, girl. In the words of Coach from Survivor, Heroes versus Villains, pray for the merge. That's what I'm doing right now. Well, anyways, y'all. I can't wait to see how this all turns out, I guess. And hopefully you can either, especially if y'all made it this far. Thank you again for listening. And make sure to drop a like and subscribe and comment below because we'd love to hear your thoughts on the season. Is it rigor mortis? Well, we all know it's rigor mortis. Unless talking to Jack. It's rigor mortis.
Girl,
But
it is rigged, but it's just like bracket 1 and 2, girl. It's rigged. Think about it. Like
this
you
is
knew it
more
was.
egregious. This is even more. This is even more big than the other big stuff.
Girl, you saw All Stars 9, All Stars 8, All Stars 7. Like, come on.
I mean, true. What should we expect here? Do y'all think the
Is it
same?
3
I
seasons
mean,
of complete riggery? Like,
we
come
should
on.
expect it, right? Oh yeah, I mean, true.
Yeah.
3, 4, 4 at that point.
Yeah, 4
Um,
now.
ugh. Well, yeah. Until next time, and on behalf of my co-caster QuackrrJack, this is Renegayde signing out. But remember, keep spilling that tea, y'all. Bye.
Goodbye.